Good evening. Today is Monday. The time is 8 p.m. in Canberra. We will begin the weekly Bangla radio program from Canberra's 2XX community radio station. This program is being broadcasted by the courtesy of Community Broadcasting Foundation Limited and Bangladesh Australia Association Canberra. Every Monday at 8 p.m. the program is broadcasted on FM 98.3 MHz. Tonight the program is presented by me, Adib Ahmed. In tonight's program, I'll be chatting to my older sister, Zamina Ahmed, about her experiences as a child migrating from Bangladesh to Australia. Welcome to Bangla Radio, Api. So for those who don't know, Api is a term for sister in Bengali, and I called my sister Api. I wanted to speak to you about your experiences migrating as a child to Australia, and how old were you when you first came over here?
4.5 years old. When my Abu and Ammu brought me to Australia, we moved to Melbourne.
So you first lived in Melbourne. How long were you guys in Melbourne?
We were roughly in Melbourne for 3 years, and then we were told that my Abu got a job in Canberra. We were very excited to come to a new shahud, Canberra, Rasani shahud. I was roughly 7.5 when I came to Canberra.
So when you first moved, do you have any memories of before you migrated? Do you have any memories of, because you were born in Dhaka, do you have any memories of Dhaka before you came over to Australia?
Yeah, my mum, Ammu, she told me I was born in Elephant Road in a hospital in Dhaka, and I always went to my grandma's house, my nanny's house. At that time my mum was in university, but when she had me, she was very young, and so my Kalamonis, Jabakala and Shompi, and my nanny helped raise me at the time.
Yeah, because Api was the firstborn on mum's side, and my colours helped take care of Api first. Do you have any memories? Do you think you were too young?
No, my mum told me there are some memories. My nanny was very strict towards me. I was very spoiled at the time. I had 2 or 3, at least one driver for myself and my own car. My nanny said, "Amar boor kaikon agab lagte dibe na."
So what are your first memories of Australia?
Oh, my first memories when my Abba and Ammu told me. I was 4.5 and we moved from Dhaka, Bangladesh to Melbourne. There was an uncle and auntie called Shumi auntie and Hassan uncle. Uncle told my mom, "Bhabi kono chinta korben na, amar bashe shudben." So my Abba and Ammu were reassured that they had a place in Melbourne. They were very happy to move to a new country, but at that time my nanny, Nana, Kalamoni, Kalamoni, we were all upset, and then we went on the plane and we came to Melbourne.
And what are your first memories of Melbourne?
My first memories, we had this beautiful house with a beautiful courtyard where my mum and me, we enjoyed our first ice cream on the first day. My dad was at work.
And you went to school in Melbourne?
Werribee Primary, where I did my first preschool and my kindergarten. And then after a while, my Appu got a transfer of job in Canberra. And at the time, I was quite upset because I made many friends. I had a big community in Melbourne with a lot of other than auntie and uncles. Due to my dad's job, we had to move. An amazing thing happened. When we first got off the plane, there was a huge limousine waiting for my dad's job. It felt like we were loyal.
Really? I didn't know that. That's really cool. So that was organised by Dad's work?
It was organised, and it was just felt like I was a star on that day.
Wow.
Went to the hotel, All-In's Hotel.
I wonder if that hotel still exists.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but that was our first hotel. And eventually my dad and my mum got a small 2-bedroom apartment, and that's where we started my mum and dad's shop.
So going back to your time in Melbourne, what was it about Melbourne?
Hassan uncle, he was my dearest uncle. He taught me pretty much a lot of things about life. he also taught me how to speak Bengali.
Yes, unfortunately we lost Uncle a few years ago, and it's been a very deep loss. So then you came to Canberra, and obviously it was a little bit difficult at first. Was it difficult at first to get a house or to get get the apartment?
Yes, it was apartment. It took a while. So the first, I think a few weeks we were at All-In's Hotel, and then my board started applying, and eventually we got this beautiful 2-bedroom apartment. I was, at the time, the only child. I went to North Ainslie Primary, where I did Year 1 and Year 2.
So the suburb that you guys were renting was in Dixon. Oh,
yes.
Okay, yes, Dixon. And then what was your experiences at school? Can you explain if there was any difference going to school in Melbourne or going to school in Canberra? Did you have different experiences in both?
Oh, very different experiences. I guess the schools were a bit bigger. There were more experience in Melbourne, but not much difference, but smaller. But I really enjoyed my Year 1 and 2 in North Ainslie Primary.
And why was that?
I made new friends, and I'm still in touch with them now, even.
And then after Dixon, where did you guys move to?
After Dixon, we moved to Conda Primary. I did my Year 3 and Year 4. And after that, we went to Gordon. We also lived in Isabella Plains, where my mum had a new baby, where I first met my little sister, Aziba.
That's me.
We moved to a new house. Very lucky. We had a new house in Gordon. We've stayed there since a while.
Over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
So can I actually ask you what were your first memories of being told that you were going to have a sibling? Were you excited? Did you want one? Were you annoyed?
I wanted a brother, as always. But then my mum said, we won't tell you yet. We'll wait till a surprise. At the time, I was in Nilo Auntie's house, which is Monica, Jiller uncle. So they dropped me at that house. My mum was in labour pain, so she dropped me at that house. I was asking Auntie non-stop, I'm Motica, so is she okay? So when is my little baby brother or sister coming? And then I got the news from my mum, and my mum rang Auntie, it's a girl. Oh no, it's a sister. I went to go see her. She was so beautiful.
That's actually kind of funny because a story Mum tells us is that the amount of times that I was punching and kicking around in her stomach, everyone thought I was going to be a boy, but everyone was a bit surprised when I turned out to be a girl. How did you feel about, because when I was 8 and you were 18, we moved from Isabella Plains to Gordon. How did you feel about that move?
The move was very different. We went from a smaller house to such a big house. It was very different, many rooms. The new house, we could accommodate everyone. We had so much fun. I remember back in 2006, my colour monies all came from different parts of the world. We had a big reunion.
Yeah, it was really great.
That was really fun.
It was really great to have them.
Can
you speak a bit more about your experiences in terms of schooling and growing up? Did you face any, did you feel like you were a bit different to other kids? Did you feel like you were treated differently?
Well, I was differently treated because at the time my language was Bengali, so I slowly learned how to speak English.
So your first language really was
Bengali, and then I guess they had a different class where they kind of helped me out to study maths English.
Maths English as a second language.
ESL.
Yeah.
After that, I picked English up pretty well.
Did you find it difficult at first because you had initially learned Bengali at home? Then when you started schooling, were you actually finding it a bit difficult to learn?
Difficult at first, slowly, but as the time went by, I slowly picked it up. After the initial, ধরে রাখা খুব কঠিন। সবচেয়ে বড় জিনিস আমার নানি আমার কাছ থেকে বাংলাটা আমরা ধরে রাখছি দেশে এসে।
And so now that you're raising 2 daughters in this mixed culture, do you have any thoughts about that? Is there anything that you've experienced that you found a bit difficult? Do you find, because we ask them quite often to speak Bengali and sometimes they'll be like, no, and then just speak English. Well, we are all trying as a family to make sure the girls, they definitely understand Bengali because we've always spoken it since they were born, and their dad especially will talk to them in Bengali to ensure that they're understanding. So they understand it quite easily, but actually getting them to speak it back to us has been a challenge. What have you thought, Api?
Recently we went back overseas. Since COVID, we went in April to celebrate their first Eid with their dadi and chatis and sisters. The first thing someone did tell me, তোমার বাচ্চারা কি ইংলিশ বুঝেন, ইংলিশ কথা বলতে পারে? আমি শুধু এক কথাই বলছি, শুনেন, ওরা ওখানে বড়, যতটুকু ওরা বুঝতে পারে এটাই আমার জন্য যথেষ্ট. What I did was, they told me in English and I translated that in Bengali. I am not saying that my kids have to speak Bengali, as long as they understand me and their dad and their nana nani and their athiya children and kalamani.
Yeah, for sure. It's not that they have to speak it, but we would like them to be able to learn and say it and understand it, because we obviously want to ensure that our culture remains alive through the new generation. Speaking of schooling, a very key auntie for both of us was Mrs. Hashmat Ali, which is Rukia auntie. So my experiences growing up was that my parents, our parents, they had to work in order to keep the roof over our head, obviously. It came to Year 6 graduation, and I can't exactly remember now whether I actually asked my parents to come and they weren't, or if I just kind of knew that it was difficult at the time to get leave. At my Year 6 graduation, Rokia auntie was there. She was at the time she was a relief teacher there, and so she was a part of my graduation. She was there for me, so I really appreciated having someone from the community there, because I think Api would share this sentiment that growing up, the Bengali community in Canberra has been such an important part of our upbringing, and so many aunties and uncles, we find that they've been so special and taking care of us. For example, at one point our parents had travelled overseas. They travelled overseas for work, and at first our nanny was taking care of us, but then unfortunately she had a terrible accident and had to go into hospital, and our parents weren't able to come back. They were trying to come back as quickly as they could, but at the time, like we're talking about the early 2000s, I believe, things weren't as easy as like going on your phone and booking a plane ticket, so it was a bit tough for them to come back quickly. But then plenty of families in the community were willing to help us out. We stayed with Rocky auntie and Hashmat uncle. We stayed with Zura uncle and auntie. And I'm having maybe not the best memory. Do we say anything anyway?
Rupakala
and Rupakala.
As my sister said, everyone that I've known since 91, they're technically like another mum and dad to us. They look down on us as like their daughters.
I was going to ask about your memories of Bangla school.
Had many teachers. My mom was my teacher. Rupakala, Hudakala, uncle. Everyone had their own way of teaching me. My favorite teacher was Hudanko, because the way he was teaching me is completely different to what my mom would teach me.
Yeah, and especially too because now that Julanko is no longer with us, but Julanko was a real pillar of the community in keeping Bangla school up, and for a lot of, I think, the southern Bengalis, South Canberra Bengalis, it was a very fond memory of us growing up, because we would all have people went to like Sunday school. We had Bangla school, and so we were all getting together, learning Bangla, having playtime, eating snacks. Also, the times that Arabic class was added on, and also they were Bangla singing, and also we did different nach for different অনুষ্ঠান. Growing up in Canberra, is there anything that sort of sticks out in your memory? Like, for example, Floriade or the Multicultural Festival. Are there any memories you could share?
Back in 1998, we did a lot of parades, whole community parades. I was very thankful to Mithil Auntie, Rina Auntie for teaching me how to sing. I did some dancing as well as singing. And ever since that, I've been always liking music. I also play the electric Hawaiian guitar as well as the piano.
And the harmonium?
And the harmonium.
Something you use for stress relief is your music. When you play music, something that you've got this very strong talent for music, so you can do something which is called playing by ear. Do you want to explain what that means?
Mainly, it basically, আমি যদি এটা কোনো সময় গান শুনি, মনে করি রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীত, my song poem is রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীত. I listen to the music for that few seconds, and I straight away go to the piano or the harmonium, and literally I can pick up exactly the tune of the song that I played. For instance, the first song I ever learned from my Ammo was Kolo Kolo Dal. So at the time when my Abbo was driving, at the time we had a cassette player in our first car. As soon as I heard that, I came home, I picked it up. Then Abbo wrote that in English Bangla, so I could read it. And my first ever Bangla function, Mithil Auntie, I was actually next to her. I said, Auntie, I'm a bit nervous. Do you mind sitting next to me? She said, hey, আম্মু কোনো অসুবিধা নেই, তুমি গাও, আমি তোমার পাশে সাপোর্টের জন্য বসে আছি.
So, do you have any memories of when you first were able to do this?
Actually, I was 5 years of age. I picked up a Bengali song and I played it on the keyboard.
And you have had like harmoniums throughout your life, but you also had a music teacher, didn't you?
Yes, Ronjit. Ronjit was my first music teacher. He was from Sri Lanka. I've had him since little. And also when I was in year 11, I was actually put myself in a talent contest. I didn't come second or first, but I got a special award because I was the only student in my year who sang more than 1 or 3 songs in another language.
That's great. And I think that's one of the greatest things about you, Appi, is you've really kept our Bengali culture alive. You really enjoy Bengali music. You enjoy singing it, listening to it, playing it. You also like to watch natoks. I think that's a really great thing that you have about you. Do you have any memories of, for example, there were different association onushtans?
Yeah, I went to many different onushtans. One of the main ones we did was Robindra Nozrul Jayanti. I really enjoyed that one. And I also learned many songs from my Ammu and Abu. They also enjoy listening in their spare time, in the cars drive. The one fun memory was, I remember যে প্রতি শনিবার আমার মা বলতো, তুমি এক কাজ করো, তুমি একটা বড় একটা রবীন্দ্রসঙ্গীত সিডি ছাড়ো তো, আমি আর তুমি মিলে নাস্তা বানাই, একসাথে রান্না করি. ওই স্মৃতি এখন আমার মা স্মৃতি আমার মনে হয়. আমি এখন আমার বাসায় সেই স্মৃতি রেখে দেই. প্রতি শনিবারে আমি গান শুনি. So I remember that fake moment with my mom. My mom is the most best cook in the world. I remember প্রতি শনিবার আমি মাকে আমি আগে কথা বলতাম, আম্মু আজকে যেহেতু শনিবার আর তোমাদের কোনো কাজ নেই, চলো আমরা দুজনে মিলে মগলের পরোটা তৈরি করি. তো আমি আমার বোন দুজনে আমরা হেল্প করতাম. আমরা খুশি মনে আমরা সবাই মিলে একসাথে মগলের পরোটা খেতাম. এখনো পর্যন্ত বিয়ের পরে আমরা এখনো সেই ট্রেডিশনটাকে ধরে রাখছি. But unfortunately, এখন আমি আমার মার মতন সেটা বানাতে পারি না.
Yeah, I have a lot of memories of Mum making parathas, and she does it in that way where she rolls it out into a long snake and then curls it into 2 different directions and then spins it on top and presses it flat.
Yeah.
That's the part that I always got like confused about as a kid, because I was like, how come you can spin it in the different directions and then you twist it in a way that it still sits on top of each other? Until I tried it myself, I didn't really understand it. But I used to watch in fascination, and always because I'm also trying to steal some dough. I like to eat raw dough. That's my secret. My family always tells me don't eat raw dough. তোমার পেট খারাপ হবে, but I still sneak some raw dough, and I've told my nieces, I said, you guys aren't allowed to, but I still eat it, and they get upset with me because they're like, how come you can eat the dough but we can't? And I said, shh, it's a secret. But yeah, so one of the things that's really great about Appi as well is she's a very gifted cook. She can cook all sorts of recipes, but she can also cook a lot of Bengali recipes.
A lot of the time my mom and dad was quite busy with their work, and she was busy with schooling. My Nani Moni, my Kala Moni was here. So that she used to wait after I come from school. I would whip something amazing, and I remember cooking many Thai dishes, khichdi, gorul mangsho, aloo bhatta, begun bhatta, tomato bhatta. My nanny was an amazing cook, and I learned many things. But I like to tweak things a little bit, because those days the recipes were around back in the 50s, and sometimes I feel like, how about we tweak the recipe and see what comes out of. So when you make pani khichdi, my আম্মু বলছিল কোনোদিনও তুমি ওর মধ্যে মুগ ডাল দিবা না, বাট আমি যখন সেটা ট্রাই করলাম আমার মনে হলো মুগ ডালটাকে একটা নাটিনেস দেয়, সেটাকে আমি মিস করতাম, আমি ওর মধ্যে সবকিছু দিই। Nowadays you can actually take all your mom and nanny's recipes, just tweak them up and you have your own recipe book.
So update them.
Update them, yes. I found that fish sauce goes really anything. I the other day made aloo bhatta for my husband and I put fish sauce. So it's not just like having salt in your aloo bhatta. I also, when I make bean bhaji adiba, I put fish sauce.
Oh, that's a surprise. I didn't know that.
Father's Day, my sister came up with a lunch surprise for my dad.
No, Appi said that she was feeling like she wanted to have more of a traditional feast. So Appi said that she would cook khichdi. And because in our family we tend, with the khichdi, anytime growing up, mum and dad made khichdi, they would also make really nice omelets. So I said I'll try and make some omelets. Appi said she'll make khichdi. And what else did you make, Appi?
I made some delicious chicken curry with carrot. I made an egg recipe that my nanny ma told me. Basically, the only secret ingredients, if you ever want to make egg curry, just always put a little bit of sugar and a little bit of pepper. Makes a kick happen. Oh, I also, nowadays, as you all know, the oven phase is slowly fading.
Yeah, air fryers are now the trend.
So I made the same recipe that I did in the oven many years ago. Today I did it in the air fryer, chili chicken roast. It turned out 10 times better and more moist.
No, it was pretty good. The chicken was pretty good. Speaking of, learning recipes from Nani and stuff, do you want to speak about what the experiences were like in terms of how Nani would be coming and staying with us? So in our childhood, Sapi is 10 years older than me, but we still went through a lot of schooling together, and whenever Nani wasn't here, then Appi would take care of me, but then when Nani was here, Nani would be taking care of both of us. Do you have any memories of being with Nani?
The fourth memory was the garam bhat dal and the goru mangsho with aloo. Do you remember that, Adiba?
I really loved coming home from school and Nani hate tule khawai dito amake bhat, dal and beef and tomato. That's a fond memory of mine.
Yes, definitely, same. One thing that I found when I went to Bangladesh, Adiba, the parathas were not deep fried like Ammu's ones.
How did they cook their parathas?
They just did it in the fry pan.
So they did just two sides?
Just two sides. I was very disappointed in the morning. I was always missing my mom's paratha in the morning.
Yeah. A lot of good fattiness. The oil.
Delicious.
Our times with Nani, is there any other memories you have apart from cooking?
Cooking chalet, she told me a lot of knitting.
Cross stitch?
Yeah.
Knitting. We actually both still have this cross stitch that we did. Appi had made a bouquet of flowers and I had made a rose. Not a rose, sorry, a tulip. Yeah, a tulip.
I was very lucky because on my wedding night, my nanny gave me a hand stitch shari. I still have that one.
Yeah, Nani was kind of famous in our family for doing hand-stitched. Well, Shella in general, but also doing hand-stitched work, gaj on shari. So I have a shari, Appi has a shari, Mum and her sisters have a shari. Something I also want to ask you is, if you could do it all again, would you still move? Would you be happy to have moved to Australia, or do you wish that you actually grew up in Dhaka?
No, I'm glad my dad made a wonderful decision. No, I would not change a single thing, but only one thing I would change: stay in Melbourne.
Same. Very good thing.
Otherwise, no, I wouldn't really change anything in my life. Everything has happened because of, I guess, Allah's reasons.
Growing up, we would try to visit Bangladesh often, but it was obviously limited by the enough leave our parents would get. But I think every 4 years was what we were doing.
Yeah, every 4
Do you have any memories of, like, did you feel strange the first time you went back? When did you first go back after moving?
1992, I was 8.
Was that, and then did you go back again when I was 1 year old, or was that when I was
94, 95.
So 94, 95 was when I was
1. Which we had my daughter's wedding, and then I went back in 2001 when I was in year 11. We also went to an Indian tour with my whole family.
Yeah, we did India for the first time. That was
really amazing.
So do you feel like we went back enough, and do you feel, or do you think we should have gone back more, gone back less?
I think we did what I guess our parents could afford. I think what we did was enough.
Did you find that each time we'd come back, you'd really miss our cousins?
Yeah, everyone was getting older and wiser. Everyone was changing. The country was changing rapidly, because as you all know, Dhaka has a lot of jam. We just couldn't go anywhere to do anything, so we all had to. Everything was scheduled on a Friday. Friday was in Dhaka 2 free days.
The songs used in tonight's program were taken from the YouTube account Royalty Free Music. We have reached the end of our program. We hope that you've enjoyed. We invite you to send your opinion to Bangla Radio Canberra to the following email, banglaradio@gmail.com. You're invited to follow Bangla Radio on Twitter and Facebook. If you join our Facebook or Twitter group, we will send you our weekly program description. Our programs are archived in banglaradio.org.au website and on our new Bangla Radio Canberra YouTube channel. If you want, you can also listen to all of our previous programs anytime on your mobile device using our Bangla Radio Canberra Listen app. This Listen app is now freely available from Apple App Store and Google Play Store. The next Bangla Radio program will be broadcasted next Monday at 8 p.m. We welcome you to join us. Wherever you are, we hope that you stay well, in peace and happiness. Good night.